My name is Ryan Davey and I'm a wildlife filmmaker from South Africa, based on a small conservancy in a province called Zululand, which is home to many private game reserves and wildlife conservancies. These private game reserves are home to Africa's Big Five and an array of other beautiful fellow species coexisting in a variety of ecosystems, some of which are strictly governed by organizations protecting their livelihood. These organizations restrict or permit the amount of species to be introduced or hunted each year in order to control the populations within the boundaries, ensuring that there is not an overabundance of wildlife that will cause a negative influence on coexisting species. In order to create this balance and ensure life flows naturally in the wilderness, certain rules and regulations are stipulated to ensure the vegetation is not overgrazed. The introduction of organized hunts is one measure of ensuring an ecological balance is maintained throughout an ecosystem that relies on certain species to control vegetation. These hunts are coordinated by professional, well-trained, skilled and experienced hunters. Although somewhat controversial, the hunting community has always been and will continue to be a very necessary part of conservation.
In my family was 100% procurement of meat. We're a hunting community and we hunted for meat. They needed that. We had to feed them. So meat was very, very important in that stage. That's how I grew up. The people that worked on the farm, they needed a beautiful little red duiker in one of these sand forest roads. And we just want to go and have a look and see. It just looks like a big male. It's got this dark neck. So let's just go and have a look and see. Right now it's a business. Yes, it is a business. For me, it is essential. If I don't hunt, there will be no way that I'll have a farm. If I don't have a farm, I won't be able to look after animals. It's just essential for me to get clients and to hunt selectively.
If a particular species becomes overabundant in respect to how much vegetation is available, then hunting is a cost-effective and profitable means of bringing balance back to the wilderness. One such species is the African elephant. Because of its tendency to lean out the bushveld and its reputation of being destructive, the specific number allocated to each region is based on the amount of vegetation elephants are likely to consume and destroy. These gigantic creatures are capable of devouring up to 300 kilograms of food per day and drink up to 200 liters of water. It is no wonder that the vegetation is strictly monitored and the herd numbers are governed.
So this is my 11th trip to Africa. I've been to South Africa about 6-7 times now, and every time it's never ceased to amaze me. Beautiful place, beautiful country. I've been all the way from the Cape all the way up to the very north part of South Africa. And this trip we came down to Pretoria area for a coal management elephant hunt.
Doing this, you know what your gun will do in all kinds of weather. And I'm sure that's my shot right in the middle.
I'm sure it isn't.
Yeah. If you don't claim it,
That's right.
what can I say?
Elephant hunts are considered one of the most elite hunts of all African animals. Hunts of similar caliber are leopard, black rhino, hippo, and Cape buffalo. The elephant is the largest of all African species, with bulls weighing up to 14,000 pounds and standing at a height of up to 4 meters at the shoulder. A healthy elephant is capable of running speeds of up to 40 kilometers an hour and have been known to travel hundreds of kilometers in a day and in large numbers.
Well, there it is. That's the extent of the herd. It's a big herd. It's not a mega herd, but it's a big herd. At least 30-40 strong.
Elephants can be extremely aggressive when threatened, and many a hunter have met their demise by misjudging the power of these magnificent species. The combination of agility, speed and stealth can break a man's bones from a mere strike of the trunk.
Hey, no.
Which alone is controlled by over 40,000 muscles. Although elephants can only produce offspring every 2 years and live approximately 65 to 70 years, The numbers of breeding females can quickly escalate as the herd numbers increase in size. These herd numbers are strictly monitored to ensure the vegetation is not saturated by overbrowsing. If the numbers exceed the allocated limit, then a culling hunt is enforced. Such is the dilemma that one particular private game reserve have recently encountered when the local enforcing authorities delivered the news that one of the 18 elephants would need to be culled.
You know, any property, in even a country like South Africa, but any property, once you have inhibited the movements of animals, so they can't go anywhere, whether that is by a fence, whether that is by communities on the boundaries, where the boundary there is in place for them not to be able to move freely as they want, they need to be managed.
Because these game reserves rely on tourism based on the type of species that exist within their boundaries, it is necessary to ensure that whatever species is brought into the reserve, it can provide a return of investments to the game farm for its continuous survival. In this case, when told that an elephant would need to be culled, there is obviously a need for the game reserve to recoup their investment on years spent protecting the livelihood of that particular herd member. To justify the extent of the issue, there is really only one choice. Because of the cost involved of moving a culled elephant, the market is open for hunting.
So we're on the bull's tracks now. We found some fresh dun. We're gonna get on his tracks and we're gonna walk. We think he's at this water hole up here, so hopefully we'll get on him and he's not in the too thick of brush.
This hunting fee will aid in covering the cost of the resources required in culling a 7.5-ton animal. A permit is issued for the bull elephant in question, and a hunter is sourced, profiled, and interviewed.
Because of the sun, it's probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It's still got resilient heat, but it's not hot.
What is
That's
that?
a big boy, Jeff.
Yeah.
He's really, really high. We can barely reach with our guns barrels where he's scratching himself,
It's a big boy.
Really big. Standing very tall. Yeah, that's a short. What another clearing that goes sort of diagonal like that. So let's go down there and see if he crossed it.
Okay.
To go in here, it's really, really thick.
Sure.
So I wouldn't recommend that right now.
This is where he turned and went in.
Yeah, he turned in here and went right in there. Let's rather go and have a look if he crossed over on that diagonal road. It's November, we're probably at 100 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And, to go in and hunt this elephant right now, we're going to waste the meat. It's just too hot right now. So we'll drive around, sort of make sure in the area where he is. The sun is up here at 4:45, so 4:30 out of camp, come to the area, pick him up fresh, and then hunt him in the early morning. That'll be my suggestion. Is that all right with you?
Absolutely, because the meat's going to a good cause.
Exactly.
I've got to know this elephant really well over the past 8 months, and it's sad to know what's going to become of him, but that's the reality of conservation. We could, of course, try and find a game reserve that need an elephant or want one to help with pruning their vegetation, but the costs involved is highly impractical. Firstly, there's no grant for this sort of thing, so the private game reserves have to fund it themselves. Secondly, the logistics take a really long time. It requires helicopters and vets, and darting medicines, and lots of crew and big trucks, and of course it puts the animals under a tremendous amount of stress, not just the ones directly involved in the culling. This is a tourist operation, and animals running around stressing could have violent repercussions if somebody gets injured or killed in the process. So really the juice isn't worth the squeeze if you consider the fact that some translocations have not been successful at all and they've ended up culling the animals anyway. So that unfortunately is the flip side of conservation, and as some would say, it's the double-edged sword. It cuts both ways.
By inviting an international hunter who has dreamed of hunting in Africa allows not only the funds to be used for furthering the development of conservation, but can also provide valuable resources to surrounding impoverished communities.
So I've been hunting all my life. My dad got me hunting since I was very, very young age. Lost my dad in a plane crash in '91, and I continued the legacy of his hunting. Enjoyed hunting. Right after high school, I spent 6 months in Africa working for a professional hunter, and it was one of the best times of my life.
As they're going.
It's amazing how they can plow through that thick.
Well, I'm from the U.S. and we are in South Africa, Natal, and my father was nice enough to ask me to join him on this trip, and it's a trip of a lifetime because, you know, he's been hunting all of his life, but you know, his father went out hunting for an elephant and he never got one. His father was who introduced him into hunting, and he was never fortunate enough to get one, and I think that was a very special moment when my father was able to get one.
It's actually my second elephant hunt. I hunted the Caprivi Strip 3 years ago in 2019 and passed up probably about 80 or 100 bulls, a lot of nice big bulls. Should have shot the very first one we saw. It was the biggest one, but we didn't see one that was old and mature enough to take. But it was a great experience. Did a lot of tracking that trip.
It's not ethical for the herd members to witness a cull for obvious reasons, so the extra day has bought time to ensure the bull is isolated. By morning, tracks and scat were evident enough to prove he was on his own. It's also important the elephant is culled in an accessible area. If by any chance he falls in an unreachable wilderness, the meat and other resources will not be available to the community.
We left these tracks. Yesterday it was just too hot, too difficult, and you know, the area where the elephant was in was just impenetrable. So we came back early this morning. We're gonna go. We picked up his tracks earlier, where he walked last night, where he went to water and back. So you know, we're quite hot on his trail right now, and we're just gonna have a look and see in what position we can find him, you know, and see if we can get close enough, and if it's an area where we can make a stop on him.
How are you feeling about the hunt? It's gonna be an epic hunt. Incredible.
It's your first one, yeah?
First one. I've been on elephant hunts before, but looking at the photos of this bull, I've never seen a bull like this. It's huge.
You know, this elephant, they love to walk the roads, that helps a lot. But you know, you always have to, you know, keep in mind that, you know, they're super sensitive. They can't see really well, but they've got incredible noses and they can hear very, very well. So you know, we're just gonna go in very, very slowly, you know, and just try to locate him. The biggest thing in this coastal forest in Zululand, it's so thick, so you have to be so careful that you don't bump into the elephant, you know, that you have space. So, you know, you have to keep all those things and pray that he's in the right position. You know, otherwise you can't do anything to it, and you have to let it stand over like yesterday, you know, for him to be in a better position. We're pretty sure, you know, he's been in the area for a very long time, so, you know, he'll stay. So we'll rather take our time until we can find him in the right position.
We don't want to charge.
You don't want to get into a position where you're not in the control of the situation. Like we've seen yesterday. It's so thick. But he loves walking the roads. It's like the leopards, it's the path of least resistance.
Right.
And there's so much foliage here and there's so much food here. He cuts in, feeds a bit, back on the road. Cuts in, feeds a bit, back on the road. I think if we're lucky, we're going to find him right on the road. Very, very early, like we said yesterday.
Oh, he's close.
Yeah, he's not far.
No, he's not far.
Tracking with these guys has allowed me to put things in perspective in that I'm a wildlife filmmaker, not a hunter, but in essence the process is the same in that I've got to get a camera to where they get a gun. The wind plays a vital role in that. We've got to approach from downwind so that we can smell the animal doesn't smell us. The ground also plays a vital role in that it's in essence a map. We're walking on an encyclopedia of information. It tells us the age of the animal, the size of the animal, how fast the animal's moving, where it came from, where it's going. Is it alone? Does it go into the bushes and come out again? Is it zigzagging? Is it a straight line? These are all things that are necessary to know before we get to the animal. And then, of course, there's the birds. Bird life is also of vital importance because some birds sound alarms for the animals, which can help them, but can also help us. Sometimes not hearing anything at all is also a sign, not necessarily a good one. So it's really just about tapping into the environment and utilizing the resources that we're surrounded by. But these guys have been doing this their entire lives, so they're naturally good at it. Other people have to acquire these skills through years and years of experience in the bush. And sometimes those experiences aren't necessarily good ones. Sometimes we learn from other people's mistakes, which have sometimes cost them their life. Nature certainly is cruel, and humans are not exempt from that rule. Well, we found him. As suspected, he's right on the road. The guys are just getting ready, and I think they're going to go for it because they're not going to get another opportunity like this. Especially since, if he runs in, there's just no way of finding him in that thick stuff. So here goes. It's never real until it's real. This is not an ego hunt. This is a cull hunt. So of course we have to have backup weapons to make this as effortless and as painless as possible for the elephant. The hunter has asked that his son join him. So I've hung back to allow his son to go up front.
monster. That's incredible. I had no idea.
Guys, just come out of the way. We're just gonna make sure. Reload if you've got bullets in. Give me a bullet. He's got solid. Come out of the way. Watch your line, Jeff. Shoot him right here. Okay? Okay.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, eh?
Old bull.
What an incredible experience.
Oh my word.
How are you feeling, sir?
It's unbelievable. It's sad, but you know, this has to happen. This has to happen. It's going to feed a lot of people. Unbelievable.
How are you feeling?
That is one thing about hunting elephant. There's always some sadness. You know, such an old beast, although you know it has to be done. It's just, it's so inspiring to stand next to an animal that's, 55, 60 years old, where he's been and what he's done in his life, and to have the privilege to hunt him, and also, to do your part for conservation. What an incredible privilege.